A very good evening. Welcome to State of Business on our television. I'm Ashingsani Veerasinghe. Let's have a look at the headlines for today. Tourist arrivals picked up in June compared to May this year, but a drop when compared to last year, central bank says. The initial launch of the Google Transit Instant Traffic Update service took place in Colombo. News in detail. Review of the monetary policy stance issued by the Monetary Research Department of the Central Bank shows that tourist arrivals have picked up in June 2019 compared to May 2019, while workers' remittances declined in May. The total number of international tourist arrivals to Sri Lanka during June 2019 was 63,072, and it marked a drop of 57% when compared to June last year. The largest source market in June for tourists was India, followed by Australia, United Kingdom and China. Almost 97% of tourists travelled by air to Sri Lanka. As at 30th June 2019, 1,08,449 of tourists have visited Sri Lanka for this year. It is a decline of 13.4% over last year, when 1,164,647 tourists had visited the country during the same period. Real GDP growth for the first quarter in the year was registered as 3.7%, following a growth of 1.8% in the final quarter of last year. Growth was supported by the expansion in all three sectors: agriculture, industry and service activities. Agriculture activities grew by 5.5% with the support of oleaginous fruits, coconut, king coconut, oil palm and animal production. Industry sector recorded a growth of 3% supported by the recovery in construction activities, and services activities recorded a growth of 4.1% driven by financial services and wholesale and retail trade. Headline inflation remained broadly around the mid-single digit level thus far in 2019, and it was seen decline in June 2019 due to deceleration in both food and non-food inflation during the month. Although some price pressures could emerge in the near term, inflation is projected to remain well anchored in the desired 4 to 6% range in the medium term, supported by appropriate monetary policy measures, the central bank announces. US Ambassador Alina Teplitz states that the US intends to grant financial assistance to Sri Lanka e-land registration program and to enhance Sri Lanka's road and infrastructure facilities. Ambassador Teplitz made these statements during a discussion held between Minister of Plantation Industries Navin Dissanayake on 12th Friday to discuss issues pertaining to tea, coconut, rubber and other cultivations. During the talks, the situation and demand for Sri Lankan tea in American market was broadly discussed. Minister of Plantation Industries Navin Dissanayake particularly requested for financial assistance for the road development projects in Nuwara, Matale and Uva regions. Moreover, Ambassador Teplitz noted that she would inquire whether solar power plants, especially for the workers of the tea sector, could be provided. Meanwhile, Minister also requested the ambassador to create a platform through which the local students can receive the technical knowledge and exposure in the universities in the USA. On the other hand, Minister Navin Dissanayake also met with Iran Ambassador Mohammad Zairi Amirani on 12th July at Baramulla to talk about the tea industries of both countries. Addressing a recent press briefing, Minister of Tourism Development, Wildlife and Christian Religious Affairs John Amaratunga stated that he has instructed the necessary officials to revive the cabinet paper to impose the free visa and visa on arrival as the security situation in the country is contained. Minister made these remarks while elaborating on future measures to increase tourist attract to Sri Lanka following the recessions of travel fares at Bandaranaike International Airport.
There are some important matters that we are concerned. One, of course, visa can be issued on arrival. If you take the Singapore model, once we decide to go to Singapore, in the aircraft itself, we fill out that form, go to the counter, give it stamp and go in, right? Then we have to be careful to see whether there are undesirable people who come into the country and making use of this opportunity. Therefore, there is another system that we are now developing to track as soon as any passenger books the air ticket, his whereabouts will be tracked and we can inform the immigration here not to allow them to come into the country. So these are some of the areas that we will have to develop and we will be developing. Cabinet paper will be prepared soon by the Secretary. That will be a joint cabinet paper actually by the Minister of Tourism and Minister of Immigration as well, because they also play a very important part. Immigration is the department or the agency that is responsible for issuance of visa. So this is the second step that we are going to take in order to increase the number of tourists coming into country.
As a measure to upgrade the current transportation services in Sri Lanka, the Google Transit program was launched in Sri Lanka last week under the patronage of Transportation and Civil Aviation Minister Arjuna Ranatunga. This venture is on upgrading Google Maps to show public transportation services as a part of the Google Transit, and it would be available for use in Google Maps initially covering the Western province. The ministry is thus nearing the framework to be sent to Google Inc. in order to activate the Google Transit service in the country. For the moment, the service will only deliver predicted time frames for arrival of buses and trains, yet it later intends to provide real-time tracking via the help of GPS technology. Through Google Maps, users can track quick routes for commuting on motor vehicles with real-time traffic dates. The ministry hopes to launch the Google Transit service in other provinces in future under the technical guidance by Moratua University senior lecturer Dimantha De Silva. Stay tuned for more news after this short break. The ADO International, which is formerly known as the Asian Region Training and Development Organization, will hold its 46th ADO International World Conference for the first time in Sri Lanka. The organizers say that over 25 world-renowned human resources, management and marketing gurus and specialists in a number of fields will be there to share their knowledge and experiences. Here, ADO President Attorney at Law Janaprit Fernando briefing the media in Colombo about the conference.
ADO focuses on human resource development, on leadership, on talent development, and this year we are also focusing on women empowerment, because we realize that Sri Lanka has more women than men. But if you take into consideration, for example, the parliament, it's a very small percentage. The ADO conference will be open to all the corporates and even the government sector. We are expecting overseas participants, but as you know, the participants from overseas might not be as expected, but nevertheless, we want to ensure that the Sri Lankans get the best out of this conference. That's the reason we are going in with all the plans as scheduled, and all the speakers are arriving as scheduled. And this will be undoubtedly one of the best conferences to have over 20 gurus of leadership, experts in their own fields from all over the world, from the United States, from Europe, from Asia Pacific, and across the world.
US Ambassador Elena Teplis asserted that trust in government, information and communities, supported by rule of law, criminalization of hate speech, incitement and violent causes, and ameliorating political courage are essential in recovering trajectory of Sri Lanka. US Ambassador made these statements at a panel discussion organized by the Lakshman Kadiragama Institute of International Relations and Strategic Studies in partnership with the US Embassy, titled From Counter-Terrorism to Recovery, Lessons from International Experience, held on 10th July 2019.
First, there has to be trust. Trust in our neighbors, trust in our government, and trust in information. Secondly, trust has to be supported by the rule of law and the open space in which different communities and practitioners of different religions can live their lives freely. That said, hate speech, incitement, and recruitment to violent causes must be criminalized. Democratic societies, ones governed by the rule of law, must be mindful that a powerful tool to combat extremism are the civil liberties we cherish in our democratic societies and the rule of law that provides the reasonable restraints without abrogating those rights. Lastly, political courage is needed to combat extremism.
Moreover, addressing the From Counterterrorism to Recovery Lessons from International Experience panel discussion, Deputy Coordinator for Regional and Multilateral Affairs in Bureau of Counterterrorism and Countering Violent Extremism at the U.S. State Department, John T. Godfrey highlighted the need of soft power to combat new security threats like radicalization.
We've witnessed in the past year terrorist attacks that span the ideological spectrum in a New Zealand mosque, in an American synagogue in Pittsburgh, and in Sri Lankan churches. Innocent people have been murdered. These attacks and others around the world underscore the increasing complexity of the challenge before us and also the need for collective action. Countering terrorism effectively requires hard power, which is something that's fairly widely understood, but something that's less well understood is that it also requires the soft power that often takes the form of community-based prevention and intervention. At the State Department's Bureau of Counterterrorism, which we refer to as CT, our efforts cover the spectrum of hard and soft power and include diplomatic engagements, information sharing agreements, and programs that augment the capacity of partner governments, law enforcement, and civil society. Prevention and intervention constitute the soft power we use to ensure people do not radicalize, mobilize, recruit, or inspire others to commit acts of terrorism. It is distinct from, but very complementary to, the hard power of military action, law enforcement, prosecution, and detention.
As per Xinhua News Agency reports, China's rolling stock maker CRRC Qingdao Sifang Company Limited has produced 9 diesel trains for Sri Lanka as a measure to assist in upgrading the travel and transportation in Sri Lanka. Thus, the new type of diesel trains equipped with 90 train cards rolled off the production line on Friday, and they are the 4th batch of diesel trains the company produced for Sri Lanka. Previously, the company has exported 3 batches of 43 trains to Sri Lanka, accounting for over half of the country's total trains in operation. Moving on, the newly designed trains were designed to travel at a speed of 120 km per hour. Compared to trains currently used in Sri Lanka, the new trains have more air-conditioned carriages and are equipped with facilities such as a passenger information system, LCD TV, and toilets designed for people with disabilities. The new trains are made with special corrosion-resist material and techniques catering to high temperature and high humidity in Sri Lanka. Dealers at the stock market said that the rupee opened stronger at 175.4 over 55 to the US dollar in the spot market yesterday, while stocks fell 0.03% in early trade and dull trading was witnessed in bonds. Stocks on the floor closed 0.31% higher on Monday, with the turnover soaring due to a block trade in LOLC Finance. Colombo's all-share price index closed 17.47 points up at 5,587.36 yesterday, and the S&P SL 20 index of more liquid stocks closed 0.68% or 17.79 points up at 2,644.98. Yesterday's turnover reached a 15-month high since the last highest of 13 billion in March 2018. The market turnover was 9 billion rupees, with 70 stocks gaining and 47 stocks declining. Brokers at the market said that a last-minute internal transfer of 2.6 billion shares of LOLC Finance at 3.4 rupees a share, amounting to 8.9 billion rupees, boosted turnover. 3 other crossings were seen in Commercial Bank of Ceylon with 189 million rupees, John Keys Holdings with 27.17 million, and Richard Peary's and Company with 25.84 million rupees. That's all the news for today. Join us tomorrow at the same time. Until then, take care. Good night.